Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like a motherfucking smack addict. Bye. In a menudo style and direct fashion, we're going to get straight into the content of the day. But before we do, let's hit that like and subscribe button. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directed in the direction of the dope content I am kicking. And I highly appreciate all the support. We're going up. So I did a video, I believe it was the day before yesterday. It was breaking news, you know. I found out, just like everyone else found out, that allegedly Maurice Vasquez, Badass Snoop, who I had a long history with, or not, I wouldn't say long history, but I've known him for a long time, or known of him for a long time, allegedly caught a stabbing case at Donovan, right? Which is a level 3 facility, you know, in the CDC, a level 3 SNY facility. Now, this story right here took an intricate twist just yesterday, because as I was doing a little research on this story, you know, someone got at me and they were like, did you know who the victim was? And at first, I didn't know the name of the victim until it was released by CDCR. And I was like, not really, man. And so I couldn't really give details on what I thought could have happened in this case. I had to wait just like everybody else. But after waiting a little while, a name popped up. And whoa, was it a blast from the past, right? It seems like my town or my city, Merced, has been in the news a lot lately. And I got a couple videos to do here in the next coming days about the town, right? But this was a name that I hadn't heard for years, man. I had literally forgot all about this guy. And not because I chose to, but I just, you know, life moves on. Life moves on. You do your thing. And 30, 40 years ago, or 30 something years ago, later on when you hear this guy's name, you're like, wow, took it back. So anyways, the recap on the case for those of you that don't know, Maurice Vasquez and another guy named Michael Mendoza from Sacramento allegedly went out onto this yard on RJ Donovan and did a pegada. Okay, now this is all alleged, you know, according to the report that I seen, you know, at 10 a.m. on this yard, these guys were seen with manufactured weapons. Basically, manufactured means they made these homemade weapons in prison, and that they were hitting this guy in the chest. And then, of course, when the cops ran over there and told them to stop, they didn't. They were gassed, whatever. And it was too late. You know, this guy succumbed to his injuries. He was dead on arrival, man. And it's unfortunate. Well, I wasn't surprised, like I said, that this happened. You know, for anyone that knows, Snoop had just picked up a gang of years. So he was pretty much asked out. But here's the cold twist in the situation. There's a couple twists. One of the twists is that Snoop and this other guy were actually level 4 inmates. Okay, they were level 4 and they got an override to go to a level 3. So they shouldn't have been there in the first place. But these SNY yards have always been, most of them, the majority of them, level 4/level 3 yards. So you'll have level 3 inmates with level 4 inmates. You ask yourself, what's the big difference with level 4 and level 3? There's a vast difference. Whereas level 4 pretty much are lifers, hardcore, guys that have put in a lot of work, guys that have high points for whatever reason it may be. And level 3 is a little bit more, you know, they got lower points, a little bit more programmers, people that got dates that are trying to get out. So when you have a lot of level 4 convicts, old school convicts, and a lot of these guys have been around for a minute to be a level 4, it takes a little while to achieve these points unless you're a youngster. And I mean, you can go into prison and have level 4 points right from the gate. I've seen it happen. I've had it happen to myself, you know, just based upon your case factors, whatever factors play into it, your age, you know, if you've been to CYA, everything counts as points. But anyways, Snoop was definitely a level 4 who was placed on a level 3. Now, this guy that got killed was a level 3 inmate. So I don't know if there's a lawsuit there, if the family wants to look into that, but that's pretty crazy to be mixing and matching these inmates. But it's happened. You know, I've been on yards that were level 4/level 3. It's just the way it is. You'll have a lot of guys that gain points there, and usually they're shipped out to level 4s, 180s. But in this case, anyway, Snoop happened to hit this yard, and whatever happened, happened. Now, the reasoning behind this stabbing, I don't know. I don't think anybody's going to know till this trial plays out, if they don't take a deal, or, you know, to the word on the curb, you know, because that's just like the streets talk, the pen talks. You know, eventually someone's going to find out what it was behind. It could have been something as simple as disrespect, or somebody burnt somebody, or, you know, it could have been internal with the group or a gang. One never knows, does one? But anyways, when I heard this guy's name mentioned yesterday, someone mentioned it to me in my messages. And his name was Guy Perez. And they said, hey, he's from Merced. He's from your town. And I said, I know him quite well. Very well, right? 30 years ago, Guy Perez, let me tell you his story. For those of you that don't know, and this is the victim in the murder, right? I met him. His brother was a good friend of mine, was a homie. At that time, I was a runaway. I was a young kid. This is pre-CYA. I was a young kid. I was a runaway, man. I had this group of friends that I used to hang around with. They were all from different gangs, different borders, different hoods. Some were 13 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old, 14 years old, all the way up to 25. We were just a bunch of youngsters running around thinking we were cool, right? Gang banging to the fullest. The type of individuals all be in one room ironing red paños and letting them hang out our back pocket. We were representing North End, letting everybody know it and willing to go to the fullest for it. A bunch of young, dumb kids didn't really know what time it was. None of us had ever did any real time. We were too young. So we thought we had the whole world in our hands, right? So the day I met this guy, Guy Perez, we were chilling in Atwater, which is a little town right outside of my city. And we were all at the homeboy's house, his brother. And we were ironing our clothes. We were getting ready to go to a party that night. And I remember, and this is what a lot of people don't know, they say he's from Merced. He wasn't. Guy Perez was not from Merced. He was actually from San Jose. He was from Sanjo, right? That him and his family had just moved recently because we had just met his brother from San Jose into Atwater. So he never even lived in Merced, right? And he was like a construction worker. I believe at that time he was about 20, 21 years old. He was a youngster, very big. I remember Guy was a big dude, very big. But he wasn't a gang member. He wasn't into the gangs, barrios. You know, one of those guys that had his shit together. Had him a nice little whip, just was working. He would commute San Jose to Atwater, all that, right? So I remember the homie telling me, hey, yeah, I got an older brother. He likes to come on the weekends and chill over here. I guess he had a pad also in San Jose, but he would come on the weekends. So anyways, as we're getting ready to go to this party, Guy Perez walks in. And of course, he's way older than us. And he asks, hey, where you guys going, you know? And it's a Friday night or a Saturday night, I forget. It's been 33 years, right? And we say, oh, we're going to this party. One of the homies just got out of prison. We're all going to go slide over there. Whatever. Bunch of young fucking mocosos. And he was like, hey, do you guys want to ride? He had a nice little whip. So we're like, yeah, cool shit. Right? So we all jump in. There's about 8, 9 of us. We all pack in like sardines into his whip. And we smash to this party. Now, I was thinking because he was not into the gangbanging or nothing like that, he was just going to drop us off at this party and wiggle, right? But about an hour later, I look around and he's sitting there chopping it up with some chicks. Now, there was youngsters and there was older people there. It was a mixed party. There was a little bit of everyone. Different neighborhoods at this party. But it was definitely a Norteño party. So he's there. He's chopping it up with everyone. Based upon who his brother was, nobody was tripping on him. He got introduced around. So he's drinking, having a good time. I'm not tripping. Hey, if he wants to kick it, kick it. I know it's not really his scene, but he's having a good time. He was probably bored at the pad, right? So he's drinking, and as time goes on, a couple hours later, I hear some commotion outside. So I go outside just like everyone else, and he's literally in the front yard getting jumped on by about 10 dudes, right? Youngsters too, 15, 16-year-olds. And he's throwing them all around, and they're really literally jumping him. So after, you know, they're all happy, yeah, and I'm wondering what the fuck happened. I thought, you know, maybe he fucked up. He said something stupid. He got jumped into a barrio that night. At 21 years old, he gets put on to a gang. He just got faded. I believe he got faded and wanted to look cool, or decided, you know, if for whatever reason that he was with the program. But next thing you know, he's with the hood, right? Not my neighborhood, but he was with the hood. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, man, what a difference a few hours make, right? So time goes on that night. And I've told the story before. Eventually, I'm not going to go into details, man. It's not that serious. But eventually a murder gets committed that night. Okay? His first night in the gang, his first time hanging around in Merced, not even being from Merced, right? He gets caught up in a murder. Okay, well, here's the cold situation on that. Why, when his name popped out to me and I seen this and I was like, wow, that's a blast from the past. Well, that was the exact same murder that I went to the youth authority for. So basically he was, I guess you would say, one of my crime partners, right? Him being older, he got charged as an adult. I got charged as a minor. Another homie got charged as a minor. Eventually, there was one guy that was fucking actually snitching on everybody, getting everybody caught up, right? He ended up getting out, and another guy got caught up. Like I said, I was young, man. From everything I heard, I caught my time. I went to the youth authority. Another homeboy, he was able to wiggle to Guam, right? Which was an island. It's one of the U.S. territories. His mother was at the time, his mother was in the army. So he knew he was on the run for this murder, or they wanted to question him for it. So that fucker bounced, right? He was over there for a few years before they ended up catching up to him. That first night, Guy, a couple other homies, they get arrested on this case. Eventually, my name gets brought up that I was there at when it happened. And now I'm getting locked up, right? So now I'm fighting my case in juvenile hall for a few months. And, that was at the time that I wiggled. I bounced to North Carolina. I was on the run as a little kid because I knew that they wanted to question me in this murder case. And so I was doing my thing. These guys went to the county jail, so they were fighting their case in the county. So a lot of us were able to separate our cases. We all separated our cases. You got your lawyer. You're doing your thing in an adult court. I'm doing my thing in the juvenile court. And I took my deal and I ended up going to youth authority, right? Guy fought it for about 5 or 6 years. He fought it for a while, took it to the box, and ultimately ended up getting 25 to life. There was other guys that took deals. They got on. There was guys that were telling in the situation, and whatever happened with them happened. I actually ran into one of the guys who told on us, man. It was years later. I'd gotten out of YA, been in prison a couple times, and I was with one of my baby mamas, and we were walking into a pawn shop to just go trip out. We were downtown Merced. There's one little pawn shop over there. So we're wiggling in there to go trip and see what they had, see if I can get some jewelry or something. And as I walk in, this guy and he was a tall dude. I remember he had his back, talking towards the door, and he was talking to whoever he was talking to. And as me and her walk in, we're looking at fucking broke down lawnmowers and shit. This guy turns around and his eyes get big. He sees me. He recognizes me. It's been years, but somehow he found me. I don't know how he found me, or I found him. And as it computes in my mind who the fuck he is, because it's been years. He's a little bit older, grayer, because he was already a grown adult, like 30 years old when it was crazy. The youngsters held their mud. The older dudes started telling on everyone, right? So as I seen him, I was like, oh shit. He was like, oh shit. And he just breezed past me. I didn't have enough chance to fucking reach back like a pimp and slap the hoe, right? He was gone. And my baby's mom was like, what was that? She was kind of freaked out. Like, who was that? I was like, hey, that was one of my crime partners back in the days. That was the fool that told on everyone. What the fuck's he doing around, right? At that time, I was active and shit, so I was stuck. If you've ever been stuck, it's like seeing a ghost. Like, what the fuck? It's like if John Gotti seen Sammy the Bull, right? So anyways, the Vato left. So anyways, I had heard that guy had got so long, but, like I said, I really didn't know him like that. Other than our interaction, him being my homeboy's brother, and meeting him that night. That was the very first time I met him. So he's not from Merced. He caught his case out of Merced County. Absolutely. He stood in the county jail for a lot of years and ultimately fucking got found and got guilty and got 25 to life for the case. Everybody got different times. Some people took deals. He's the only one that took it to the box. So anyways, it trips me out that years later, somewhere along the line, he decided to go SNY. And like I said, I don't hold it against him or him accountable for it because he was never a gang member in the first place. I think he was just drunk that night and decided to look cool, get a little clout. This is way back in the early 90s. So back then, everybody was doing it. Being from a gang in a barrio, you felt like you were part of something. So I could understand why he did that. But imagine his life. Let's look at his life. He went from having a good job, commuting, doing his thing, having a little bit of money, nice whip, to just making one mistake that night. And his ultimate mistake was, do you guys want to ride? He could have just did what he usually did and just breezed past us. Because there was a couple times that I would see him walk by, but never got introduced to him or met him or nothing. He just happened to peek his head in that door that day. He was like, where you guys going? And then the homie was like, oh, this is my older brother. Hey, what's up, bro? And to a party. And then he jams with us. He gives us a ride. So from that point on, that day, it's a trip because he gets jumped into a neighborhood, gets drunk, meets some chicks, chills, gets jumped into a barrio. This is how, and this is a lesson for you out there, how your life could change like that, right? That day, from that day to just the other day when he was murdered on the yard by whoever hit him, whether it was Snoop or anyone else, he never seen another day of freedom. That was it. It was a wrap. One fucking stupid decision. Do you guys need a ride? Like I said, I mean, there was a lot more. It's not simply just that. That was not the catalyst of it. I mean, he ended up committing a murder with, you know, we were all part of it. But he was not a gang member, man. He wasn't none of that. That's why the decisions you make in life can dictate your program forever. He was one and done. You know, I don't know if he had a criminal history prior to that. I'm sure he'd been in jail, man. You know what Chicano usually hasn't. But, you know, they found him guilty, gave him 25 to life. So anyways, when I see this case, it pops up, man, and I see that Snoop killed him, allegedly, I'm like, wow. You know, he looks different in the picture. He's on the thumbnail. I haven't seen him for years. You know, like I said, when I met him, he was like 280, almost 300 pounds, just a big dude. Big old youngster. Probably like 2021. And then that's it, you know. But it's just a trip. It's just a trip to see what happened, man. This guy did a solid like 33 years and never got back out. You know, sometimes when you do crimes when you're young and it's been so long, you know, there's been a couple of those dudes that I've actually reached out to or I've seen along the lines that have gotten out in the case and lives are changed. They got families. You know, time goes on. Time moves on. And some of them got their shit together. Some of them are out there slamming on the yards, or some of them out there on the calles riding a beach cruiser with an Rder sticking out of their ass. Everyone's life is different. My life took me on a roller coaster as well. You know, in and out of prison and jail. And I always look at that one moment in time as a catalyst of a life changer. What we were doing. You know, we made the ultimate decision to do some stupid shit for no reason. And it changed all our lives. But just imagine this guy's lives. And sometimes I question God. I question people like, why would a man have to go through so much turmoil and suffering? You talk about struggle. Gang members talk about struggle. People in prison talk about struggle. Look at this guy's struggle. He fought a case for years, you know, ultimately just to get found guilty, to go to prison. I don't know where his prison journey took him, what prisons. I'm sure he touched down in a lot of different prisons, to ultimately 30-something years later down the road, without tasting any bit of freedom, get whacked on the yard. Now, of course, we all know that, you know, Badass Snoop is considered the leader or the founder of the Riders, the Northern Riders, right? I don't know if that group came into play, but I know one thing about Snoop was he was already washed up. Snoop already just got done picking up 40, 50 years. So for him to be on this yard, you know, with the guy who still had appeals, a guy that still maybe had some type of action eventually getting out and just catching another murder case, I mean, it is what it is. Now imagine this though. Here's my thing. You think Snoop cares? You think, I don't know what's up with the guy that, you know, actually did it with him, his crime partner or whatever, which is now his crimey. I don't know how much time he was doing or you know, what he was into. The Vato looks a little bit different with the turban on his head and shit. I don't know if he was on his Mekaleka High, Mekahini Ho shit. But one thing I do know is Snoop, you know, has a long history in the CDC. He's another tragic story. You know, two tragic stories of guys that, you know, get into prison. One guy that got just fucking one chance on the streets and that was that. The other guy whose prison career, man, just dug him a deeper and deeper and deeper hole. You know, ultimately Snoop will never get out. Even if he didn't pick up this case, he was never going to get out. There was no action. He just got done picking up 40 or 50 years. So he was washed up. He was done already. And so it means nothing to him to pick up a body. Like I said in my other video, when all you have in this world to hold on to is the respect or the fear that you've instilled in people, then you're going to go all out for that. There's no consequences for it. Now, do I think Snoop, if he's ultimately convicted on this one, if he did this deed, right? You know, which they say they seen him in the act, man. That's all it takes is the word it's a SNY yard. There's going to be a lot of people that speak on it, right? And the correction officer saying that they seen him with the weapon. So if he's convicted, I'm sure they're going to push for the death penalty on this. I'm absolutely sure they're probably going to push for the death penalty on this for no other reason than they're probably tired of Snoop and they want to get him off these yards. He doesn't last very long on yards in the CDC. You know, there's only so many places that they could put you when you're wanted in the highest degree by active gang members. Or, you know, I always told homeboys, if something ever happened to Snoop, I wouldn't be surprised if it was his own gente that got him over jealousy, envy, or just tired of the way that he runs his program. You know, but I mean, you see, he's still picking up cases. It's 2024 and this vaultedness just doesn't stop. So do I think that they'll push for the death penalty? Absolutely. I don't think they have anywhere else to put him. Ultimately, I think that's what they're going to do. Whether he'll get it or not, I don't know. I can't call it like an alcoholic, but, you know, is it deserving? Some people will say it is. I still think Snoop is salvageable, meaning I still think he serves a purpose on this earth, man. I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's a guy that's stuck and there's no other way to go. And think about it, man. When you're in a place, you know, that's just like, and all these incidents that are happening, I believe the CDC is going to utilize all these incidents ultimately to try to slam everybody that's validated back in the shoe, you know, on indeterminates. That's what I believe. That's where they're headed because there's a lot of shit that's been popping. And ultimately, I believe at the end of the day, you know, there's going to be a lot of individuals that are not going to go out like that. You know, imagine this. Imagine you're validated. You're a validated prison gang member or whatever. And they reinstitute this law or whatever, this CDCR rule where everyone's going to be slammed back. What are you going to do? I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm going to do. But what are you going to do? Okay, let me tell you what I would do. I'd pick up a body immediately. Okay? And it's not because I'm cool or I'm trying to get clout. But I'm telling you guys the ultimate truth. If I'm already doing life and there's no hope, and they're going to slam me in a dungeon for the rest of my fucking life, I can never get out of there, and this time it's going to be forever. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to stay out of that hole for as long as I can, so I'm going to pick up a body. So that way I can be wiggled to that county jail, so I can have a little bit more freedom and a little bit more movement. Visits, things of that nature, and just keep extending my case and fight it for a very long time. This is the mentality of some people. Myself, that's what I would do. But ultimately, I'm not in that position because I don't choose to put myself in that position. So I just wanted to say, man, that's kind of my connection. You know, a lot of people are thinking that this guy is from Merced. No, he wasn't really. He was from San Jose, but he caught his case out of Merced. And I feel bad, man. I felt bad last night thinking about him and everything he went through. And I was just like, wow, he never made it, man. He never got to enjoy family and children. And, you know, I don't know if he had an old lady he was riding while he was in there or whatever. You know, you meet people along the way, but he never got to be out here and he paid the ultimate sacrifice. Now, I don't know why he was hit on that yard, if it was bullshit, gambling. I mean, it could have been a number of things. It's prison. But rest in peace to Guy Perez, man. It's fucked up. Anyways, with that being said, I hope that you moose will with a purpose. I hope that this is a story that makes you think, you know, before you go to prison or before you're out there wiggling with your homeboys or just giving people rides. Because one night and a couple decisions, man, could change your whole life forever and you'll never see the streets again. It happened. That's a perfect example and it's 100% facts, right? So moose move with a purpose. With that being said, thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I ultimately and truly believe in, and that's the betterment of all people. I hope that Snoop, the guy that's just crimey in this, that they get their chance not to shine, as they say, you know, and that this is not a case that fucking just strengthens their fucking, you know, mythological fucking, the way people look at Snoop. But I hope this is an eye-opening experience where he says, you know what? Damn, bro, I'm tired. You know, I'm tired of having to be that one. You put yourself in the position you're put in. So I hope that he just I pray for him. Let's just say it like that. I pray for everyone involved, man. Rest in peace to Guy. Bang, bang.